everybody, hope you can hear me okay. Suzanne here. I've been requested many times by friends and family to post my videos, so bear with me with my first attempt here. And so I've got everything ready to go, and so we'll start. So this is a recipe that my mom used to make when I was a kid. I still love it. My husband loves it. He calls it something different. I call it something different, which, you know, kind of a goulash, really. Basically what you're gonna need is ground beef, onions. You can add mushrooms if you like. I don't have any mushrooms today, so with COVID-19, I'm just using what I have in the house. I've also diced up my potatoes already so that you don't have to watch me do that. Plus, I'm sure you know how to dice potatoes. And the only other thing we'll need is some frozen veg to add to that. And so we'll get started. So during this COVID-19, I've been watching some videos, and during this process, I've learned a couple of tips. First things, if you want to get your ground beef with kind of a nice crusty golden, I don't know what to call it, but anyway, that yummy looking ground beef, what you need to do is you need to heat your pan first. Then you add a little bit of oil. Even though it's ground beef, you add some oil. And then you add your meat once the oil is a bit warmed up. And then you're gonna get that caramelized kind of look to your meat. And the other thing is another tip I got was leave it for a bit and don't be so in a rush to mix it up. So I'm gonna heat my pan, and I've got my oil at the ready, and we're gonna get this show started. I'm using a nice deep pan that I bought. Hopefully you have something similar. What I'm doing today is, because I'm doing this video early, I'm going to end up putting this recipe in a baking dish so that I can just warm it later in the oven, and then dinner won't be such a big deal for me. So now we can add a little bit of oil, and the amount of oil I'm adding is maybe 2 tablespoons, so it's not a great amount. The other thing is I'm using only 1 pound, and I'm using lean ground beef. So what I usually do is, to help me, is when I buy my ground beef, I separate it into 1 pound packages and then freeze them flat in this. Now my pan probably isn't as hot as it should be because my meat is not sizzling, but that's okay. This is my first attempt, so we'll give it a try. We'll just have to let it sit for a bit and do its thing. Now, the other thing that you're gonna need is any seasonings that you want. And unfortunately, I can't bring my video much closer, but I'll bring the pan over. So for me, for seasoning, I like Lawry seasoning salt, and I will add some pepper. And this is my favorite new item from my kitchen, which is my salt and pepper that I ordered online. So I won't be using the salt, but I will be using the pepper. So now, I don't know if you can hear it sizzling, but it is now sizzling. So we're gonna leave that for a few minutes. So what we're gonna do is I'll talk to you about what I'm going to, or how I'm gonna mix the gravy. So I still use a gravy shaker because I like them. So I'm going to be adding some of this beef broth to the pot later. I'm just using this because it's what I have, and I don't make any. So what we're going to do though is we're going to put about a cup in here, and we're going to set the rest aside to add to the pot later. Then what I do is I typically add a little bit of broil or whatever your favorite beef soup stock, whether it's powdered or liquid, doesn't matter. I'm just going to add another touch. Then, and you're going to think this is strange, but I add a bit of oyster sauce, about a tablespoon, I guess. And then, and I apologize, I didn't open my new soy sauce, but I am a proponent of a dark soy sauce. So this is the first time I'm trying this brand, so I'll let you know whether I like it or not. I kind of like the lid situation though. And then I add about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons. So now I'm just going to break up this meat. And as you can see, we have a nice bit of caramelization there. And yeah, so we're just carrying on and stirring this up, breaking it up. Now, if your spoon isn't good enough for breaking it up, I also have this handy dandy. Sorry for being away from the camera, but I bought one of these, which can be awesome to break up your ground beef as well. So, now that this is, I'm gonna just show you what's going on. It's not quite done, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to now add my onions. Give that a bit of a stir. Now I'm going to add my seasoning salt. And with this seasoning salt, you don't want to add a lot, okay? It's I would say 1/4 of a teaspoon maybe. And then your pepper. And I'm going to say that it's a good pinch of pepper. Because you can taste it once you've got your gravy, see if you need to add any more salt or pepper to your flavor. And this flavor, you can add whatever you want to it. This is just what the flavors that I like when I taste what I'm making. So, and now lastly, while we're waiting for that to just toss up a little bit more, we're going to add some flour. Now, some people might add their flour to the meat. For me, I've never found that it works as well to thicken. So this is where I add it. I put it in here and I'm putting about 2 heaping tablespoons. Put my little item on here. And we shake away. All right, so now this is well mixed and ready. And now what we're going to do I'll show you that the meat and the onions are perfect now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the rest of our stock. so that we can create this gravy. And we'll bring that to a boil before we add that. So we'll wait for that to come to a boil. I'm just going to go off for a moment to grab my vegetables. And you can use whatever you like. I just happen to like using the mixed vegetables. Not that I'm endorsing any brands, but this is just what I grabbed at the grocery store. So the last two things that we're going to add to this once we get the gravy mixed here is we're going to put in our diced potatoes and our vegetables, and then basically you're going to let it simmer till your potatoes are done, and dinner is ready once that happens. So hopefully this is something that you will enjoy for your family's dinner. I'm just waiting for this to come to a boil. And so yeah, so anyway, I'll just chat a little bit about, it's been about a year that I've been thinking about doing this. And so I decided to post on Facebook, and I got a lot of response to say, yes, do it. So I'm giving this a try. This being my first video, we'll see what happens. So, yeah, you're just waiting now for your stock here to kind of start to bubble so that you're not putting your mixture into a cold, because you don't want it to, you want it to thicken as quickly as you can, but without waiting too long for that to happen. And when you put it in a cold liquid, it doesn't happen that quickly. Now, the other thing you might find is you need to add a bit more water, but we're going to mix this in first, and then we will add and thin it out as necessary, because it's better to have to add than when you can't take out and then you have to make more of your thickening. So now I have a circle of boiling. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly incorporate this in and get that brought to a boil. Looks great. I'm very pleased. So I'm just going to take a taste, see what's happening. Awesome, and it's not even thick yet. All right, so our mixture looks like this. You see it's still quite liquidy, and so we're going to let it thicken a bit, but because it's not too thick, I'm going to start adding my potatoes. So I've got them in water, but I'm just going to shake the water off in my hand, and then we will add the vegetables before we add any additional water or stock. It's up to you. But at this point, I'm going to likely add water rather than stock. Give that a bit of a stir. Oh wow, that looks yummy. And in go the veg. All right. Okay, so I know that with my videos, we may not be able to see the finished product, but what I will do is once this has finished cooking, I will post a picture after I've posted the video so that you're able to see what it looks like. But I will see how gracefully I can take off my camera here. And okay, it doesn't look like I can change the camera angle, so I'm gonna just, there you go. So now it's just gonna simmer till the potatoes are done. And that's a wrap for today. Thanks for watching.